Alright, here we go. So, I'm going to be live noding, trying to rig the fur wings, which will also become my bat wings for later. The wings are very simplistic. Let me pull them up over here. Um, First, I started out with, let me pull it up, bone wings, which is number. Well, actually, first I started with dragonfly wings, and after looking at dragonfly wings, um, I realized they are insanely intricate, and the method that I'm going to use is like the shortest path node, which doesn't exist in 3.2. So I'm going to ignore the dragonfly wings for now. And then the next one I tried was bone wings, which I now have those correctly working with the armature again. Um, so, you know, they work. And the next thing I did, like I modeled out the bones in, I mean, everything's modeled out using geometry nodes to make the bones. Um, Curve line is always the first thing. I resampled based on the length. That way, like I know exactly how many little sections there are to each bone. Probably don't need to do that, but I'm going to leave it in there for now. Then I do a curved mesh with a curved circle. Then I modify the ends to get little things like the flat spot here and the little beveled edge there to make it more look like bones. It's very simple shapes. Um, then I add it to add like this bone to the vertex group that controls the rigging. Um, and this only works in some of the versions of 3.2 beta and earlier. This absolutely will not work in 3.2 release version or later. Luckily, I just happen to have a 3.2 beta version that works. So if you can get this version right here, this will work. But you have to use to transfer the vertex groups over to the actual model. Um, this is I add in the geometry and I delete everything of the base geometry except for a single point. And then I join that point with the main thing, and this transfers all the vertex groups to the model made in geometry nodes, which is this. Like this is the base model that I start with, which is I think a cube maybe or a sphere. I don't know. It doesn't matter because I delete everything except for a single point, and the single point doesn't show up in renders or anything like that. Um, but that allows me to transfer the vertex groups, and this is broken in 3.2 release and later. I've spoken with the devs. The devs know about it. They're not going to fix it. They're just going to leave it broken up until they add in armature nodes, which is going to be, my best guess, years from now, because it's way low on their priority list. I don't know why, but I'm not them. Then I basically just added feathers to the bones and kind of reshaped. Go back into the wings. No, gotta go back to the wings. So I basically just duplicated this whole node group and then made a few changes to it so that I would get wing type, get my little chicken feathers up there. So this is what it looks like without feathers. So basically looks a whole lot like an arm, which is what a wing basically is an arm with feathers. Um, then I added feathers to it. Um, and I didn't really spend a whole lot of time on the feathers because looking at it, a wing has 7 distinct types of feathers on it. And I'm just not going to spend that much time on it at the moment. At some point in time, I'll have to come back and redo it, but at some point in time, I'll have to come back and redo pretty much every little thing in here and refine it. This is basically my rough sketch, my 3D version of a rough sketch, because, you know, even at this level of detail, it's at 6,000 nodes, and I've been working on it. I worked on it for 6 months straight, and then I took a 9-month break, and I'm working on it again. I've been working on it for about a week just to do the wings and the tail. So, these are animated. They are rigged. And let's go to the next one. But the next one I was planning on doing, which you can see on there, number 5, is a bat wing. And let me disable. The rigging is all jacked up. This is the whole point of the video is I'm going to redo this rigging. But this is what it looks like without the rigging. I just made a real simple thing, and I basically made every single point on here go towards the origin and down in the z direction a proportional amount. Let me see if I can find exactly where that is. Which one is this? This is bird wings, so that's not the right one. So I basically I copied the bird wings into the bat wings, removed the feathers, removed a bunch of stuff, and I think it's here at, where is it? I think it's like right here. Give me just a moment to find it. Yes, right here. Okay. So I don't need this. Don't need any of this. Don't need any of this. Yeah, I play around and just fumble around through this because I really have no idea what I'm doing. I'm doing stuff that nobody has any idea how to do. So what this does is it does a ray cast, but it takes the position, because everything is centered at 0, 0, 0. So the position, if you take the negative of the position, it is a vector towards the center of the. So you take the negative of the position, will be a vector towards the 0, 0, 0. Okay. Well, I don't want it to go towards 0, 0, 0, so I multiply it by negative 0.4, which will be a vector going towards 0, 0, and like halfway towards the middle. I'll show you what happens if I go to like negative 0.6. It goes further down the body. Negative 0.4. So it's basically going towards the origin point and seeing what part of the body it hits. And the reason it doesn't hit the body right there is because of the subdivision surface. If I turn that back on, it does some trimming. The way I'll fix this is I'll actually merge, because with the bat wing, these are physically connected seams. So what I'll do is I will physically connect these and do merge by distance, the points, so that it's seamless. But I'm not quite there yet. So right now, I'm working on the weight paint. So you've seen what it looks like with a weight paint like this. It's a hot mess. Like, it's not supposed to look anything like that. So I have an idea. What? No, not self-line reflection fix. Armature. I have an idea how to fix this. So the parts that are stretched out, which would be the thin portion of the skin between the body and the meaty part of the wing, my plan is to, instead of having this all set at 1 on the vertex group, because this is the weight paint, excuse me, this is, oh, this is actually just the fur. There we go. Wing 1. I'm going to reduce the further it gets to, the further away it gets from the meaty wing, the more I'm going to reduce the weight, and I think that'll give me the effect that I'm looking for. I'm not 100% sure. Wingtip. Okay, so that's nothing. Okay, all right. Like I haven't built the hands out for the bat wings yet, so this is still the fur wings. So I gotta find a method of these are this is where I set the vertex groups for the other wing, the left wing. So I build out the right wing, and then what I do is I do a -1 scale, and then flip the faces. That way I'll get the opposite wing. But when I do that, I have to change all of the vertex group from right to left as well. So that's what this is. Alright, so I need, first I'll fix the right group. Well, I stretch it out way down here. So I need to alter the weights down here. Because this is where it's stretched out. If I try and alter it before it's stretched out, the math becomes more complicated. So I will shift duplicate that. What? No. Shift D. There we go. To get it out of this box, the method that I use is Control J, then click the box, and then delete it. That's the easiest way that I know how. I'm sure there's a better way, but I don't know what it is. So this sets the entire thing to 0, but that's not what I want. I want the value to be named attribute, and then what I do is I'll grab this one, and I'll plug it back in here. I'm setting it here. I'm just setting it back to what itself is, just so I can visually see it. And what I'll do is I'll put some type of multiplier based on its position. Now, how do I want to do this? Let's see. So let's get the position. Like there's several different ways of doing this. One is to get the position and do some math to see how far away it is from the origin point. And the closer it is to the origin point, the less the value of the weight will be. Another way would be to see how far away it is from the arm. You can see how far it is by doing like grabbing statistics, attribute statistics. And again, that gets complicated. So I'm trying to find the fastest, not the fastest that I can do it, but the fastest that is done. Because I don't want it to be like 150 milliseconds to compute like the vertex groups of the wings. Like that's not what I want. I can't have that. Because the entire thing needs to be as quick as possible. Because, you know, if I want to generate 1,000,000 of them, I don't want to take 1,000,000 years. So, got to find the quick way of doing it. So let's see how quick this is. Geometry. And we'll do a vector. Yes, point attribute is position. Distance from this would actually have the inverse because the further away it goes, the higher the multiplier. So what I'll do is I will divide it. Math divide. So I'll divide this one by this one. The further away, the bigger the dividend. But that's not what I want either. How much of an effect does that have? Let's multiply this. Math. Multiply. We'll multiply by some number. 2. See, now it gets the further this way, the lower it goes. Which shouldn't be the case. It actually should be less. This gradient should be going this direction and not this direction. So let's try mean. That's not it either. Let's try max. Well, that didn't do. Let's try 20. And the gradient is not going the right direction. Let's use before, because this is after this point is squished down. This one is before it's squished down. Like you can see it. I don't know how well you guys can see it, but you can see a gradient going from left to right, and it shouldn't be. Because the distance of the position from the average, because the average should be here. So the further it gets away from here, it actually should be going, you know, the highest should be here, and the lowest should be down here. Alright, so let's try a different way. Let's get the position again. And, oops, got too many of them. Alright, so separate. When one method doesn't work, let's go for another one. So I want to go based on how high it is. So that's the only one that I really need to use. And I'll divide that by some number. And then I'll multiply that by this number. So this part's not connected at all. So this is, what it started out to begin with, which is this. And then I'm multiplying it by the z position. So I got to divide it by some number, which would be something like the height of the length of the legs. So let's look at the length of the legs and start from there. So leg length 32. So let's divide it by 32. Okay, that's a good starting point. Okay, so let's go and keep going up from there. Let's try 34. Alright, let's try 40. Why is it going? Let me see what I'm actually looking at. So that is no longer relevant. So I'm looking at this. Control Shift click. Alt Shift click. Where did it go? Alright, Control Z. Alt Shift click. Why is it gone? Like, why is numpad 0 not working? Object. There we go. Numpad 0. Oh. That's why. Because there's no there's no points there. Because I did the subdivisions here to give it Alt Shift click to give it form. Yeah, that's why. So this needs to be moved over here. Or I can move this over there. Alright. Control Z, Control Z, Control Z, Control Z, and numpad period. Like why? Alright, object mode. Numpad 0. There we go. Or period. So I want to move Alt, Shift click, drag, insert. Now let's see what the weight paints look like. That looks like they haven't changed. Why? Why? There we go. That's what I'm looking for. You see how it's starting to go down there? So let's try 65. Alright, so I want it to be a more distinct and less gradual. So let's do ramp. Let's see if I can get that up a little bit higher. That looks much better. Don't know if that's good enough, but let's see what the armature looks like with that on there. All right, so it looks like it's doing a little bit better. See, I don't want this portion of it to go past the body, but I don't know enough about rigging to ensure that. Like, even if I set this down to its lowest amount, it's still going to rotate with the wing. And if this along the wall rotates at all, it's going to be through the body. So how do I fix that? All right, so this is not going to help any. I mean, maybe if I also do it where it's less here and gradually builds up that direction as well. So what direction is that? That's the X direction. So let's do X squared. Ugh, I hate when like it doesn't let you do squared here. Power. There we go. Power 2. And then add those together. Then square root. Oh. There we go. R for root. Alright, let's turn that back on. Let's mute that. So this should, the further away I get from the center, the more red it should be. So I need to divide that. Divide, what am I dividing? That's the position. So I'm dividing the position by, let's try 75. So let's try 70. Let's try 90. Let's turn this back on. I'm pretty sure that's still not going to work. Yeah, it just goes straight through the body. I actually need it to shrink. Which I thought if I reduce the weight, it would move less. But there's no other weights associated with it. Yeah, rigging is not my strong suit. I'm fumbling around. I know this. I'm trying to think of what other method I can use. Like how are bat wings rigged um, normally? Because it's like a flap of skin that shrinks based on the position of this. It doesn't rotate. How is that done in rigging? Well, I'm going to see if I can find that online, because the method that I was trying, I'm quite certain at this point, is not going to work. So I might have to, if I created a bone from here to here, I bet you that's how it's done. I probably have to create a bone from there to there. As this one rotates, if I have this one fixed here and fixed here, as this one rotates, this one would necessarily shrink. I bet you that's how it's done. But that would require me to add more bones. And adding more bones is getting more and more difficult. Hmm. Yeah, if I just add a bone there for each segment, because there's only, I think, 3 segments. Wing 2, wing 3. Yeah, there's only 3 segments. If I add in 3 more bones to each side, and I connect the ends to there and to there, as this one rotates, this one would shrink. And if I set anything below the line, like the wing R003, if I set it to 0 below this line and have it only influenced by the bone that's connected here, I think that would work. Let me do some research, and I will make another video.